Good morning and welcome to Hope, Faith, and Joy Daily Devotion with me, Pastor Amanda. Happy Christmas Eve. Yeah, we have made it to this time of the year. It's come so slowly and quickly at the same time. But I hope you are able to take some time out to really celebrate the season that Christ has entered the world. And today we're going to just take a couple of moments to continue to look at what's going on in Genesis. And so we start with chapter 35 today. And what we find is that God asks Jacob to return to a few of the places where they've had encounters along their journey, and to again build an altar in these places where they had previously had some of their dreams and wrestlings together. And I think it's just kind of interesting that that's exactly what Christmas does for me. I don't know about for you, but it's a time to reflect on past celebrations, past family members that are no longer with us, but can celebrate the good moments that we've had together. It's a time of reflection, and we need that. We need that in our faith journey to reflect on what we have come through, what we have gone through, and how we can celebrate God in those moments. Even if we didn't celebrate them at the time, we can celebrate God within them now. And so we see that same kind of reflection process happening with Jacob and God in today's first 15 verses. They're doing that. So then we kind of, as Jacob has done this journey to a couple of places of remembering God, remembering what happened in these places, we then find that Rachel is having her second child. And her second child is named Benjamin. And what happens is she passes away during childbirth. And so then what we see here then is what begins to happen at this point in time. So Rachel is Jacob's absolute favorite. She's now passed away. And what's going to happen is we're going to start wrapping up a generation. We're going to start closing off all what was going on in this generation's life to move on to the next generation. And so what we have here is we do have one infidelity that happens. We just get this brief infidelity where Reuben sleeps with Bilhah, which is Jacob's one of his concubines. So we have that, but that's all we get at this point in time. And then what we have is all of Jacob's 12 sons listed out. So now we have the 12 tribes of Israel. And something I just kind of like to note that happens in this chapter is throughout this chapter we have this play on names that happens, because sometimes Jacob's referred to as Jacob and sometimes he's referred to as Israel. And what I like about that is I think it's that reminder to us that even when we change and are transformed by what God has done in our lives and the relationship that we have with Jesus, the old and the new have this back and forth playing. We're doing better, but then we're backtracking, and then we can do better, and then we backtrack. And so we see that Jacob and Israel, same person, continues to play a part before he's fully Israel. It's not like the light changes. It takes time and development and transformation. And so we see this, that it goes back from Jacob to Israel, Israel to Jacob. So anyways, just a little note. And so then what we next have is the death of Isaac. So Jacob's father now has passed away. And then we also learn in this chapter that Rebecca's midwife, or Rebecca's nurse, now Rebecca's been dead for a while, I'll remind you, but her nurse has passed away. So we have that history keeper who has kind of passed away, and now Isaac has passed away. And so we're just seeing that the whole generation is getting ready to move on. Now, because I have looked ahead, and chapter 36 is really just Esau's descendants. So we just have just a barrage of names given to us of all of his children, the children's children, and even some of the kings who were there at a time. And so since we're not going to meet tomorrow, I'm just going to take a minute to also talk about the importance of naming the generations, because even though we kind of wrap them up, they pass away, and we set them to the side, we have to recognize that they bring continuity to the generations, which also gives continuity to God's promises to the family. Because if we think about it, in the Gospel of Matthew, the first thing that is given to us is a genealogy, the generations, to show how Jesus is connected to the same family. And so we recognize that in this Christmas season that all these stories are connected, and the good and the bad, the transformed, the untransformed are all wrapped up in this book here, in this story. And it then applies to us. It connects us to this story, that in our own lives, that Christ is coming to us and transforming us. And yes, 2020 has been a tough year, but it doesn't mean that God hasn't done something with us and through us and in us. And we get to welcome that into the world now. This is the time that we can experience something new. We can let the old pass away and welcome the new into our lives. And we get this opportunity time and time again. But this is the time that we celebrate it. And so I hope that this Christmas you can see where God's light and Christ's light is transforming your life. Your heart, your mind, and your soul are seeing where God's at work and with you. And I look forward to the time we'll get to spend together in devotions after Christmas and into the next year. So Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, but I'll see you next week. But thanks for joining me, Pastor Amanda, with Hope, Faith, and Joy Daily Devotion. We'll see you later. Bye.